Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, do in the name of the Almighty God swear, and that I dedicate myself to the service and the welfare of the people of the Republic of Ghana. So help me God. Our success or failure should be judged by the quality of the individual, by his knowledge, by his skill, by his behavior as a member of society. A new dawn has arisen in Ghana, which will enable us to build a new Ghanaian civilization, which will be the beacon of Africa and the wonder of the world. Others have done it, so can we. Our best days still lie ahead.
Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo became president after this ceremony. Though the NPP did not make any 100 days promise, this documentary seeks to discuss how far we have come as a nation in the first 100 days of the government.
Presenting the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
The presidential inauguration marked the end of the transition period, ushering in the new government. The president's inaugural speech, which was meant to inspire hope, rather stoked controversy.
The inaugural speech eventually ended up in a different light. The plagiarism aspect of it was highlighted, and everywhere you went, you could not even discuss the message that was being delivered, but rather the fact that is being plagiarized. Of course, what we have learned, even with all the plagiarism, is that we do not need to be spectators, that we need to be citizens. And if we're going to be citizens, it means we have to play a part in how the nation is administered, which is what the Progressive People's Party and many others are doing.
The Ghanaian people have summoned the change we celebrate today. They have raised their voices in an unmistakable chorus.
I see our president as somebody who is an orator par excellence. He's very good. He knows how to talk. For me, something that some equate that to be someone who is arrogant because of the way he holds himself up and the way he talks. But I love the way he talks. He talks with vim and vigor, and I love that, honestly. You could see the aplomb in the way he handles himself. But that very day, I think that was the day he plagiarized. That was the only thing that made me so sad. As an academic, I had an issue with that because plagiarism is a very serious crime to commit in academia. So that was the only low key in the whole program. And others talk about, what's his name, Ejoku and his people, what they did there. For me, I think that added some fun to it. It's normal. For me, it was so normalized on my part. So I did not really have any problem with that. My only low key there was the plagiarism thing. And I was expecting them to accept the fact that he plagiarized. So that because people are watching you, people are learning from you. This is a way of social learning for those growing up. They should not, because the president is an embodiment of the whole country, the citizenry or the populace. So if he will plagiarize, then it sends a wrong signal to the rest of us. And it's like, and those who tried to normalize it because that's where they belong, though they did not do any good to this country. It was a disservice to us.
I ask you to be citizens. Citizens, not spectators.
The president's speech on Inauguration Day was for me a very inspiring one. He challenged all of us not to adapt the same old practices, not to sit on the sidelines and be spectators, but to play a more active role in working with government, assisting government, challenging government, holding government accountable to do the things which it has promised to do. And the president, as part of his invoking words, quoted from a myriad of sources and acknowledged a good number of sources. Admittedly, I think there were a couple of quotes where the original orators of those words were not ascribed their original mention of those words. It was never an attempt on anybody's part to plagiarize or to, as it were, pull a wool over the eyes of the international community, because you can't do that and get away with it. It was a genuine error by the speechwriters. I think it was later acknowledged by the Director of Communications, and he apologized for it. But in general, I think that the message got down well with the majority of Ghanaians. And today, I see a lot of people doing things and saying things, and when you even clap back, they say, well, we are no longer spectators, we are citizens. I think that the objective was achieved, though there was a little chip.
Inauguration Day was good, except for the plagiarism that became, and we became the international, we were being mocked internationally. Aside that, like, everything went very well. It was a colorful event. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, former president, John Ajekum Kufuor, former president, John Jerry Rawlings were all there. Other heads of states were around. Everything, I believe that in terms of turnout was good, but the president disappointed all of us by having copying ditto speech from other heads of state without crediting it to them. Because in the same speech that His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo delivered as his inaugural speech, he quoted from some notable persons and acknowledged as such. Why then do you leave these other significant ones and make it look like it is your own material, is your own work? You could have just done same as you did for others. Maybe he thought that for this one it is not known by a lot of Ghanaians, so I can own it as if it is mine. But you know that we live in an IT world today where people can easily check such things and get to know. And they were caught pants down.
I think they were caught off guard. They should have accepted and moved on. We heard the Director of Communication was being relieved of his job, but eventually, he's still at post. And I want to say that it has become something that at least they are aware of now, and their subsequent speeches, I think, have been original, rather than picking it up from the internet or elsewhere.
Anybody who is saying that plagiarism is something that we should just wish away is not the best. But I think that it's gone. Okay. Right. We should forget about it now. It's gone. It's a lesson, and I believe Nana himself has learned a very huge lesson from it. And those who wrote their speech have also learned their lesson. I'm so happy that the guy apologized, that indeed he did that and he apologizes. When somebody does something and he apologizes, what else do you say? I think we should not stretch this.
President Akufo-Addo traveled to Chebi, his hometown, for a Thanksgiving service. But while the president prayed, some activists of the New Patriotic Party, believed to be members of the Invisible Forces, the party's vigilante group, stormed some state institutions.
It's been a month of attacks, sometimes bloody, across Ghana. The Tema Toll Booth, the Ratri Park in Kumasi, the Passport Office in Accra, and recently, a Jurassic Dumasi in the Ashanti region, where school feeding caterers perceived to be supporters of the NDC were wounded and chased out of a school.
While some of them did so as a means of securing employment, others were on a retaliatory mission for similar actions allegedly meted out to them when their party lost power in 2008.
We only talk about what happened in 2009. We do forget of how it all started in 2001 under Kufuor's regime. 2009, we repeated same. Why? Because we were not able to. I've been thinking that it's as if we don't even know what we are doing as a country. I think in other jurisdictions, you realize that they keep doing new things. Their experiences or their lessons in life, their lived experiences, tell them what to do going forward. But here we don't do that, so it keeps reoccurring. 2009 we saw same thing. 2016, 17 we've seen same. For me, I think something should be done about it, and we should stop looking at it in a very partisan manner. When we do that, then we'll not be able to get a panacea or the right solution for it.
Droman Kuman Anglican Primary School was one of many schools attacked last week. Injuries recorded in this community were incredible. More than 10 people received medical treatment at the Ujura Hospital.
That goes to show how unruly we have become. Where are our laws that employ people to man these state institutions? Are they just off the street administrators? No. I believe there is a process of hiring and paying. They are paid from some consolidated fund of some sort. So if they are able to just get up and go and eject handlers in a particular institution and impose themselves on there, it means we have loose institutions, and we need to strengthen the institution so that we know who hires, who pays, so that not anyone off the street cannot just go and seize and start operating the toll booth. Where are the revenues from the toll booth going? They're going into the individual's pocket. That's the impression we are getting. Those who go to seize the toilets, where do the revenues go to? We are being told that it goes into their individual pockets. That's why they're able to go and seize it. But if the revenues are coming to the state, then the state must have control over who it has employed to man those facilities.
In separate rampages, some activists of the party took over the Youth Employment Agency office in Tamale in the northern region and a toll booth on the Adenta Dodoa Road in the Greater Accra region, while some irate supporters of the party assaulted members of the National Democratic Congress at Agbogboloshi, a shanty settlement in Accra.
It looks as if our transition processes are captured in our constitution, and the constitution captures only the top, leaving the bottom, you know. And whenever that happens, then you have ministers, you have the head of state himself, you have people close to the presidency having a very smooth transition, but below them the constitution does not capture. That is why we see the seizure of, you know, toll booths, market spaces, and even toilets, so to speak, you know, during transitions, because it looks as if the grassroots has nothing to guide them. And the reason these things happen is that the basic one is the winner-takes-all political system that we practice, which we can say is a zero-sum. Once you are in MPP and you lose power, or you are in NDC and you lose power, you lose your job, you know. And so people have had problems living without jobs, such jobs that they think when you are in power you should have access to. As soon as they come to power, they will begin to look at that. Not until we have had a limited PR system, proportional representation system, where irrespective of which party you belong to, you can have access to some of these things. They will continue. So the ability of the state to deal with this menace, I call it menace because many people suffer a lot as a result of the seizures. would lie not in the hands of any one political group, but I believe there must be a proper introspection of our political system.
There's a culture in this country where when power is won, some persons are of the view or behave as though there has either been a coup d'etat or some war has been won and there are spoils to be distributed among people. It is not a new culture. It's a culture that has been around for a while, that is very unfortunate, and which as a country we must work to, may I say, eschew from our body politic. The president, upon realizing it right from the very first day, made a call, if I recall correctly, made a call, I think even during his inauguration address, that one, he was going to be president for all. He did not want any sort of vituperative acts, to be associated with his presidency, and has consistently, whenever and wherever he has found it necessary to speak to these issues, whenever these issues have risen, he has spoken about it and he has called on all and sundry to do the proper thing. Unfortunately, in this country and indeed many parts of the world, there are some persons who, no matter what you say, will still go the extra mile and do the unfortunate. Now, I don't think that you can hold a leader responsible for what an irate supporter does, if especially the leader has put out categorical calls and statements that do not do this as my follower.
If he had condemned it outrightly then, we would not have had the continuation of such behavior and even into his government. That on the day of his inauguration, you had a senior police officer being attacked by some of his vigilante members at the Flagstaff House. And it has continued on and on and on to the point that some are now attacking courts and freeing suspects that are in lawful custody.
In this country, there are laws. We have the police, we have all other security agencies. Why is it that when NDC loses power, then the police immediately, the security agencies immediately switch their loyalty to the party that has won, and therefore when they are beating you up as an NDC, nobody would mind you. And so because of that, people would do whatever they do with impunity. You understand? Because our security system has also been politicized. In a country where the position of IGP, Chief of Defense Staff, and all the leadership of the security agencies change whenever there is a change of power, you expect that those who have won power would have the audacity to beat you up with impunity. If you arrest them, they call the big man there to tell the police, it's one of my boys, leave him. So the seizures and all these are happening because the political system itself supports that kind of behavior. Because we know once we are in power, the police should be at our behest. It should be at our beck and call. Whatever our whims and caprices should control them, So if you are in MP, if there is any grassroots person in MPP now and is beating you up and you think, and is taking away your property and you think that somebody is going to save you, you're lying. Because that is what happened during the time of NDC, right? So it's a payback time. And the police, the security agencies know that if they don't really follow that, if they resist, by insisting on the laws of the land, they risk their positions. You could be transferred.
We were expecting the IGP to do something about it. By then it was coup d'etat, very good. But he and his men knew very well it was a daunting task, looking at it politically. You do it, you will be taken to a different place against your will. And it is happening. It is happening. But because we like glossing over some of these things, we are always hit by the reality on the ground. They know very well if they bite, just as we expect them to bite, it will go against them in the long run. Because the appointing body is watching you. And those misbehaving, they belong to where the appointing body belongs to.
Nanado 100 days, why are there? Yes, Sonko. Sonko say 100 days, what Timmy in the ministers in your area. Where you the deputies in your area. Where Chess or Baba Yedmanampa. Into your me were confident to send your oil no Chess or the money could be calling him. Ministries be a was we point you will be a pointies where you will be a DCs, where you be a where Mamma Rishimusi and Pani Baba and bit me to a minor calling him. So, we are the Cassia Maniaja who said, you heard near the Crawford so Baba, ministers in our way, regional ministers were deputies in our way, into Ayade for the 100 days. President, President Kufoba Power, President Kufoka say, or no opposition, or can say ministers in the dorsal, no about power, no, and a President Kufoko, India, no ban was, hey, Rollins, you catch them with ministers in the dorsal. Na mi call India no and them who say India one more minister for railways in Kwa and the ministers in our year no come cry them expectation ko say Koko Nkwa yenye ministers aka ho Koko Nkwa affairs no o say yenye minister county ministers no ko mfa bi nka ho na adwuma ne ntimi ko danimu enchen ne waye no ministers no Koko on point minister for Koko affairs Nkwa
Ministers wa fa na ne mai me ma dwumu de me hu adwuma papa bia o ma ba ya ma me hunu ye because adan ana we ol man tire open pe bebre na wonu arlase ye onisa adwuma no ntimi ya enye force so wa atiase because ministers na wa fa no feel for the public ye hunu sa me so wa atiase etinu one shot adwuma no one ye na adwuma na o mu ye no the ministers na o mu ye o mu pray gigigiri cars ne ma no eno ye ntire ye to aba mo mu adwuma na o mu ka kire se o mbaba ya ma ye no 100 days na aso ye the 100 days o ka kire ye no aso.
Kotoka International Airport has seen massive expansion. The preparation for a new airline for the country, a national carrier, was almost concluded. Regional airports have been built. The Tema Harbour has seen expansion. The Takoradi Adi Harbour has seen expansion. The rail line from Tema towards Akosombo has just been cut for work to commence. All these was done by one minister, one deputy.
It is an area which we need all the help that we can get, beginning with having a proper policy framework which will enable Ghanaian agriculture to prosper. I believe that Dr. Uswe Friakoto has the credentials to make that happen for us and our country.
In politics, we promise the electorate various things. And when you win political power, the fact that you have won power does not automatically mean that all that you have promised are automatically occasioned. You have to actually form a government, take over the reins of power, and begin to lay the roadmap to bring these promises into fruition. And forming a government, like the government of Ghana, from ministers of state, from the cabinet level, all the way down through to deputy ministers, chief executives in various agencies, is a huge enterprise. It is a very difficult task, and that is why you find out that, at least in our fourth Republican history, presidents have usually not done it as quickly as President Akufo-Addo has done, because it is a huge and difficult foundation which must be laid, and upon that you can build anything.
For the PPP, we are biased, because leading into the election, we said we would appoint 40 ministers and deputies to execute our agenda. So seeing 110, it's about 3 times what we had promised the people of Ghana. So definitely, we have said even in the past that 80 ministers and deputies was too high, including the NPP operators themselves. They've criticized NDC for having ministers and deputies in excess of 80. So why suddenly 110? They are trying to justify it with the one district, one factory, one village, one dam, $1 million to every constituency, and that it is requiring them to have that many number of ministers and deputies. We don't think so. We believe that, coming from President Akufo-Addo, that he was coming to safeguard the nation's purse. We don't believe that 110 ministers and deputies creating such a huge bureaucracy was protecting the nation's purse.
If you go and form a bull-float size government and you want to applaud yourself, it's like saying that you go to a station and then you load a bus that is supposed to take maybe 12 passengers and you find a way of loading 20 passengers and you say they should clap for you. Now, you where everybody is supposed to pick 12, you have picked 20. So you are good. You are doing the wrong thing. President Akufo-Addo is doing the wrong thing. And he is applauding himself. Yes, why wouldn't they applaud themselves? Because he has found space for the boys and girls. So they are happy that he has found space for them.
It's an interesting description. I even heard somebody call it an elephant government. That is the elephant party that has come with an elephant government. I think that it is fair for our opponents and the people of Ghana to express criticism and reservation about the size of this government. It is fair because we have not hitherto had a government of this kind. About three major things need to be noted, however. First of all, President Akufo-Addo is trying to do something different. You see the old paradigm where ministers of state literally supervised an entire sector. He's shifting a bit from that. A 4-year period within which he wants us to achieve this very, audacious, ambitious manifesto requires ministers and their deputies more skewed in the form of project managers, task managers, to manage and deliver particular results within a particular piece or period of time. There are some that may not even be required by the time that some of these results are delivered. There are specific targets that persons are supposed to achieve. We have just returned from a cabinet retreat at Peduas. I can show you some of the documentation. There are specific targets that people are supposed to achieve. These are taskmasters, project managers who are supposed to deliver within a certain period. And some of these ministers of state and their deputies, once these tasks are achieved, you would notice that they may not necessarily have those portfolios still existent, because if we are finished creating the regions, if we are finished performing a particular exercise, you may not find them there.